We are live here to chat about tonight's episode of Arrow. That's probably gonna look like I did some like cheesy fake laugh open, but in fact I was laughing about the fact that I'm delirious because I worked an over 12-hour day and spent the entire weekend with middle schoolers at a camp covered in glitter. But I'm here. We just finished watching tonight's live episode of Arrow season 7 entitled, let's see if I get this right, even delirious, Inmate 4587. Was that right, Jen?
Yep.
Jen is nodding. And I have
notes.
She has notes. Jen is with me. This is at NerdGirlJen from Twitter. She is 100% less delirious than me. She knows a lot about Arrow. She actually just moderated a panel about some superheroes at a con, and I've had the wonderful opportunity of being a panelist on an Arrow panel with her at Dragon Con for I think 2 years now running, was it? So I'm really excited that she's here to talk about tonight's episode, and we're going to get started, as you guys know we always do, with a rating on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being lowest, terrible, you hated the premiere, it was worse than any other Arrow premiere, and 5 being highest, perfect, you loved everything about it. Where would you put tonight's episode? So everybody in the chat, let me know your rating, but I will let the lovely Miss Jen give us her rating first.
Oh, I think I'm going to go about a 3.2. It's not the worst. I've seen worse. But as for the best, Oliver's in jail. Anything that would be, a 5 for me with Oliver out of jail, with his family. But, we knew that wasn't going to happen. It was a great start. And one thing I noticed and I really enjoyed was the fact that Beth Schwartz, this is her first season of showrunner. I really enjoyed how she kept in the running through the woods.
Yes, wasn't that cool?
In the beginning of every first episode of every season. And I was like, who's going to come busting out? I was not expecting Felicity and William, but it was a great, wonderful change, but yeah, a nod to the previous seasons.
Absolutely. I was so pumped when I started. So I actually did not want to miss the beginning of the episode live. So I was watching it in the car ride home. That's not safe. Don't do that. But I was watching it in the car ride home, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't expect, and I mean, season openers, they always try for an impact, but I knew Oliver would be in jail, so I just didn't really expect them to continue the island nods. And after last season, you guys remember, it kind of ended, like it was coming back from the island explosion. So season 5 ended with the island explosion. Season 6, we all were kind of like, ooh, it's going to like start with some island tie-ins. And it didn't really as much. And so I guess I just didn't expect that level of tie-in. But again, as you mentioned, Beth Schwartz, the attention to detail, she's always had such fantastic episodes with this show. And it's why I'm so excited that she's showrunner this season, and she absolutely came in with a bang. I think I would rate it a little bit higher. I would give it like a 4 point something, maybe like 4.3, 4.5, because there were some elements that I didn't love because there are some pre-existing characters that are continuing on with this that I didn't love, but I didn't mind Oliver being in prison. Granted, that's the other reason I have you on tonight's guest, because Jen knows the Oliver character, knows and loves the Oliver character in a way that sometimes I don't always catch on to what they're doing with him. So I'm often willing to overlook his journey. So I'm really excited to hear what you're thinking about his journey this season. But when we started with such a quintessential Arrow moment of the island, running through it, and then we build up to what I would consider was the climax of the episode, was when they had this the supercut of the fight scenes right before they got to the emotional beat of Felicity visiting Oliver in prison. I thought that was fantastic because I almost found that difficult to watch with how brutal it was. It was pretty intense, and I see we got a pretty active chat, so I'm going to read what you guys thought as well. Stormy says, this was so awesome. I'm giving this episode a 5 out of 5. Felicity kicking Diaz's ass alone was a 5. I love that. Like, I'm not really attached. I wasn't really attached to Dragon last season. I thought there were some character issues with him, but they really came in with like everything that I didn't care about him, they're remedying. And I think they're kind of making him a little bit like Prometheus, but I'm not mad about it. Carrie Johnson says, what's good, people? Full disclosure, I missed the F, but I want to hear chat stuff. Hey, Carrie, I'm excited that you're here. There will be lots of spoilers in this. I'm so sorry. Amanda says 5 out of 5. Loved it. Love you, Amanda. I'm so glad you're back. Michelle says, I thought it was great. Made me want to put it back on my DVR. Ooh, that's strong words. When you take a show off your DVR and you're willing to put it back on, that's when you know it was good. Because there were some good, like, I know like how long some of y'all haven't been watching and how long some of you, like when you all quit and stuff. Like there've been some good moments last season, but I know there was like a group of people that were kind of like, after season 5, you know, like maybe we'll just watch it later when it comes up on Netflix. And while there were some powerful moments in season 6, I think that like a season premiere being like, ooh, maybe I would actually watch this live. Like, that's good stuff. And again, I think I would give credit to Beth on that one. Bruno says, love this episode. 5 out of 5 for me. Amanda says, yeah, you're right. I hated how much screen time Renee got. You knew what I was going to complain about. Sean Lance says, question, was the guy on the island Roy? And Stormy says, Siren was kept to a merciful minimum. I would love it if it stayed that way. So y'all are already getting into your pros and cons. I love that. Me too. I'm going to toss it to Jen, because Jen, you just heard a lot of thoughts from people in the chat about what their pros and cons were and the names that are like immediately popping up. Let's start with some positives, because I know you already mentioned that Oliver being in jail was a little bit of a negative for you, which for me, I think it's a positive, but we'll get into that. What are some of your positives? What did you love?
Oh, wow. First one that pops really into my head is Felicity's hair. I love that she did, you know, something different than just the blonde. And I actually just got pink in mine. So I'm like, we're going to take this. I'm like, you know, I can do this. We can do this. But no, as for, you know, the individual characters, I'm like, as the episode went on, I did make notes on where everybody was at. You know, for this episode, you know, Oliver's in jail, Felicity and William are, you know, in hiding, Diggle's at Argus, Curtis, of all people, is at Argus. And then Dinah's the captain, and then Renee, you know, is running running a gym and, you know, helping people with self-defense. And, you know, I was going to say something else about Black Siren, but I'm like, she's just still impersonating a lawyer, and she needs to go. I'm sorry.
She's so that's really my negative. She's that bad penny. She just always turns up, doesn't she?
Exactly. But now, as for what I really enjoyed, and I don't know if anybody else caught this, but right before Oliver completely did a beat down on that guy in prison there in the prison yard. He just swipes his hand down all those tally marks of how many days he's been in prison, and that look of determination on his face. It's like, you know what? You F with me, I will F you up. And I was just like, that is my Oliver, you know, doing what he needs to do to protect his family where he is. And I really enjoyed seeing that, because he was very, you know, complacent in the scenes we saw before when he was in prison. In fact, he was even quoted, keep your head down, you'll be fine. So, you know, it may have effed him up and, you know, being released when he needed to be. But I liked that he's now got the take charge mindset again.
And I think we kind of know Oliver is not going to get released in the traditional way. So for us watching this, while there's a little bit of like, ooh, like you're messing up your potential parole, it's also like, we know you're on the real, like by doing that, he's finally on the real path to get released. And again, I didn't really mind him in prison, because I thought that by putting him in prison, and we talked about, I co-host a podcast called Arrow Squad, and we did like a little bit of a preseason kickoff that we recorded before this episode. So before I had even seen this, I was saying, like, I suspect by putting Oliver in prison, they'll be able to recreate this feeling from back when Oliver was a lone member of a team, or when Oliver was the main fighter of the team, where we just had Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity. Diggle is more the arms guy. No pun intended, but it kind of goes both ways, right? Felicity was the tech person, the ops, the undercover, and Oliver was like the, no holds barred fighting guy, right? And I think by putting him in prison, not only does it trap him inside, it traps everybody else out, including all the other members of the team who also used to always have to be around whenever you fought, which, if you're into the team thing, that's cool. But sometimes it's nice to kind of see the thing that makes Oliver unique. Otherwise, we kind of lose why this show is even about him, because we went through his 5-year journey already, and it was like you always feel like there needs to be something different, which is why it was interesting, although not necessarily expected, that we now see we're getting flash forwards. That's new, fun, and fresh with William, which I'm excited about. And William is already a bit of a flash forward, because to me, the character always read as like aging really fast. Pretty sure the actor's already taller than Felicity. Let's jump in the chat and see what you guys were saying about your pros and cons, because I think there's some interesting stuff here. Winter's Beauty says, I actually really was liking the Renee stuff. Fight me. No, I'm kidding. Oh, he wasn't too bad. She says, I was more annoyed with Dinah trying to pretend to be a saint. I didn't like all the Renee and Dinah chatting. All the Renee and Dinah stuff just kind of gave me like NTA vibes from last season, or like the Timeout Trio, or whatever we're calling them. So I just wasn't loving it. I mean, Dinah looks gorgeous, so like there's that. Love that for her. Also, I don't know if y'all remember last season when I was like, I know CW patterns. I know they're teasing Diggle and Dinah. I know they may never do anything about it, or it may take like a billion seasons to do anything about it, but I know they're doing it. So when they were like on screen together, and by the way, I'm not rooting for it. I'm just saying I think it'll happen. Strongly not rooting for it. Love Lila. Just saying I don't think it'll happen. Okay, now that we got all the qualifiers out of the way. So Diggle and Dinah end up in a room together. Within like 30 seconds, they have like the classic CW arm touch, and I'm like, we're still out here. Anyways, moving swiftly along. Stormy says, Emily Bett rocked the pink hair during the hiatus last year, so I'm glad Felicity had it in the show. Yes, she did a fantastic job with it. Really loving some of the Instagram pictures as well. If you, like me, did not get enough of Felicity's pink hair tonight and want to see more, there's some really cute pictures on her Instagram and on her stylist Instagram. Amanda says, Dinah and Laurel too were promoted, and Felicity is back to square one. Poor Felicity. Yeah, I get, yes. And it's not just Dinah and Laurel. It's a lot of the other characters who are left outside of the prison were promoted. Like Curtis being head of research and development at Argus, or they said head of R&D. I'm assuming that stands for research and development for Argus, like it does for everywhere else. I kind of would have liked to see Felicity in that role, not just because she has, in my mind, earned it more than him, both in character and like outside, like in terms of like her place in the show. Also because it would have allowed her and Diggle to work together more. And I miss seeing Felicity and Diggle work together more. In fact, I think that is maybe one of the only things that maybe knocks this for me. But I also really like her and William going rogue. So it can go both ways. I want to see Felicity do everything, and I think that's the problem. Stormy says, Oliver seeing Felicity that way, and knowing she's going to be fighting on the outside, he's doing what he needs to do. Yeah, I think this season premiere set it up for us to see that there's a lot of people playing by the book who wouldn't normally play by the book, and Oliver and Felicity are the ones still out there willing to no holds bar fight, and I like that. She goes on to say Arrow did a realistic prison storyline, unlike The Flash, which looks like summer camp in comparison. If you expect realism from The Flash, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Flash is not realistic. They're trying to pretend that Barry has a kid, and that would require him to have sex. So, like, I don't know. They lost me there. Amanda says, Prison in The Flash was ridiculous. All he did was eat Jell-O. I think that's still what he's doing on the show. Michelle says, that was just too much Dinah and Renee. They could have cut a couple scenes. Strongly agree with that comment. I would just like to see less of NTA in general. Totally fine with them being there. I just want to see less of them because I want to see more of OTA. If this was a 2-hour show, by all means, put more NTA. On account of this being about 43 minutes long, we don't have time for that many NTA scenes. I'm so sorry. I know they're pretty. Well, Dinah's pretty. Renee could do without. It's fine. Either way, this isn't about looks. Stormy says, Renee annoyed me like Oliver got you immunity, but you want to throw it away. If you were fine going to prison, you should have instead of snitching on Oliver. Yeah. Renee's always been inconsistently portrayed, and that's something I try to view as separate from him as a character. So I think Renee as a character is annoying, but you can have really good annoying characters. For example, season 1 and 2, Thea, objectively, was incredibly annoying. Maybe season 3 too, I don't remember. For a good while, Thea was objectively annoying, but it was entertaining annoying. So I was like, down with it. Renee, not so much, which is I think why they were trying to put Renee and Thea together there for a hot minute. J.N. Patel says, I was so lost for a good minute and then realized there were flash forwards now instead of flashbacks. Yes, same. And I'm pretty excited about it. Also, it tells us who's going to live, which is Felicity and William, which is pretty cool. Down with that. Amanda says, last year it would be great to get flash forwards of 5 years in the future since we had no more flashbacks, but we got them now. Better late than never. And again, I really feel like Beth is a storytelling genius with this show in particular. Have seen literally nothing else from her, but I know her episodes on this show are good. Stormy says Earth 1 Laurel took a few boxing classes without fighting crime. Earth 2 Laurel read a few law books and be a district attorney. What they lack in story quality, they make up for in consistency. Amanda says Renee betrayed Oliver, now betrayed Dinah. Who's next? That's a good question. That leads to my next question, which is going right back to Jen, which is what next? Not just for Laurel or Dinah or Renee or whatever that last comment was about. What next for this season? What do you want to see next? What do you not want to see next? What are you excited for? What do we need more of?
Wow. Okay. I'm really excited to see the storyline progress in regards to Felicity's my absolute favorite. She's actually one of the reasons I keep watching Arrow. And she said tonight, I'm not going to let what happened happen again. And she had this determination, going back to what you said earlier about how you thought that, Felicity should be the head of R&D at Argus. However, I feel, and it kind of goes along with the hero's journey in particular, when Oliver decided to become, the Green Arrow, the Hood, whatever, he was at his lowest point and he built himself back up. Right now, I think Felicity is at her lowest point, and we're going to see her come back and completely rebuild herself to an even stronger heroine. And I am so ready for that. I really want to see that happen. I have no idea ultimately about what we will see in this season. I wasn't expecting these flash forwards. Now, I have a list here of people who I think could be the new Arrow. Roy being like the number one. However, now that we see the flash forwards, with William with the hosing on the island, I'm just wondering if they may be playing it to where, William comes back from the future, and we see him as the new Arrow.
I think that has to be possible, right? Like in terms of age, William has to be like a preteen, or they've established him as being like 8th or 9th grade present day. So if they do their typical 5-year thing, and it's a 5-year flash forward, he would be like an adult.
Absolutely. And that's one thing. And now that we have legends that's still connected to this DC TV universe, anything's possible to time travel. Or God knows Barry could completely F up the timeline again, which is probable. But
he's gonna do it again because apparently he's dead in the future or something. Spoilers if you watch and care about the Flash. I'm sorry for you, first of all. Second of all, Barry's going to mess up the timeline.
I think that's a thing for every season of Flash, is that he will mess up the timeline eventually. But no, as I kept watching the tonight's episode, I really, my entire mind had been blown, and like my thoughts of what could happen had they exploded on the island apparently, because everything that I thought could have happened this episode did not. And so I'm just kind of, I'm giving Beth props, because I kind of got to the point with Arrow that it was really predictable. And so, to me not to have anything left theory wise, at episode 1, that's major props.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the thing with Arrow, is this balance of being true to its DNA. So like predictable in the sense that it's like, we know when we're watching Arrow, we're getting Arrow content, not Legends content, not Flash content, but like very much Arrow DNA, which is not this like crazy cheesy comic-y type of thing. It's not like, you know, travel through time, change everything, nothing lasts, nothing matters. It's this, but it's not truly Batman to the point of, well, I mean, it's basically Batman. Anyways, it's very
dark Gotham.
Yeah. It's not quite as grim and dark as Gotham, but it's still like gritty street fighting, but with, you know, some comedy here and there. I like that we got that tonight without it being predictable in a plot sense. It was predictable in that I watched it and I felt like this is set in Star City. This is set in Arrowverse. But I didn't watch it and feel like I know the storyline for the whole season. Been there, watched that, got the t-shirt. Like, I know what's going to happen with the villain. I know what happens with this type of storyline. Like, I really felt like they've got some twists that they're going to pull, and not just for the sake of being twists, not just for the sake of having a surprising season, but for the sake of being interesting and fresh, which in season 7 of a comic book show is not always easy. And that's okay, you know, because I mean, frankly, I'd watch the show even if it wasn't interesting and fresh, and have done so before. But I appreciate that I can get excited about it, not just to see my favorite characters who I'd watch if they were sitting around playing a card game, but also because it looks like it might genuinely be a fabulous storyline. Even if I don't even love the villain going into it, which villains usually are kind of a big deal for me. Stormy says that for prediction, since we see William in the future, I'm thinking the actress from Shadowhunters will be Oliver and Felicity's daughter in the future. Ooh, she kind of does look like she could be. I'd buy it. Yeah. Stormy also says Barry and his daughter will mess up the timeline. Amanda says the same thing. Yeah, everybody's dragging Flash in the chat. Me too. Love y'all. Bruna says, I also think that Maya could be Oliver Felicity's daughter. Ooh, possible. I'm really curious to see what they do in terms of possibly bringing people from the future, because again, I do feel like that could go very Legends or Flash, but I feel like if they do it in an Arrow way, I would really enjoy it. And Amanda also says the Elicity parallel fighting was a thing of beauty. That was a gorgeous scene and so well done.
Absolutely.
Again, I know I didn't give this episode a total like 5 out of 5, and it wasn't even a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's like it's hovering right around like a 4.3 out of 5. But that's it, and it could change once I've rewatched it and, you know, analyzed it further and taken like podcast level notes and all that sort of stuff. But my initial reaction was that after the episode, the things I remember the most are the things I like. And the things that I liked, I really liked. And there was that, you know, I'm a sucker for a good, like, sad, angsty, dark, villainy, like, ooh, everything's going to crap, whatever. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, and I really feel like this season has a good plot to make that happen without it being contrived, where it's like, everything's awful, but it's because somebody's in love with the wrong person, which, like, that's fine. Like, I watched Riverdale too. I don't love myself either. That's fine. But like for Arrow, I just wanted more than that. I feel like we'll get more than that, so I'm really excited about it. Stormy says Beth in a premiere episode interview didn't rule out seeing John Diggle Jr. in the future on Arrow. Ooh, that would be fun too. So Jen, I know I already tossed you the question of what you want to see in this season going forward. However, if you have more thoughts, if people want to see what you're talking about during the episodes, hear your Arrow reviews, hear even, I know we're kind of a DC family here, but if they want to hear some Marvel stuff, I hear you're pretty knowledgeable about that too. Where can they find you to chat more about this kind of stuff? Wow, I can't talk, but that's fine. I haven't slept in like 7 years.
You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and God forbid, Tumblr still. That's my fanfic side. But it's at Nerd Girl Jen. And shoot me a message. I'll feel free to, talk about this episode of Arrow, or, we can just geek out together on, well, geeky things. So
absolutely. Jen does write for some other sites and she does all sorts of fun stuff. She's fabulous. Go talk with her. Her information is already linked in the description down below, or like her @ is listed there in the description down below. I am Cami at Cami and Ray everywhere. You don't want to find me. Anyways, but thank you for joining me to talk about the premiere episode of Arrow. I'm so excited. I realized I didn't really talk about what I wanted to see this season. More Felicity and all sorts of hair colors. Felicity undercover, but that's my request every season. Carrie says, is anybody else having sound issues? That's a good question. Is anybody else having sound issues? He says there's like a clanking sound. Is there a clanking sound? That's probably just like the dungeon that I'm in making. I'm kidding. Mustafa says, yes, same here. Oh, I'm sorry that there's clinking sounds. I don't know where that's coming from. Who knows? But those clinking sounds are about to end because I'm about to end the broadcast because I gotta go. But I will see you same time, same place next week, hopefully with fewer clanking sounds. And if you guys have any questions, comments, or just want to chat with me, you can find me. My description stuff has all the links. Bye. Happy Arrow Day.